And welcome back to Open Studio. Happy Wednesday, everyone. I'm Steve Leahy. We're on a tour of Tokyo. That's what we're doing. How is your... All right, never mind. Let's scratch that and start again. How is your week going? There we go. Something like that. Hopefully well. Welcome back. I am sans soapbox again tonight, so we're going to wing it. Got some stuff going on, so I didn't have a chance to think about stuff. So we're just going to free form. We're just going to do it. Last week, we kind of blocked in this area here with the black. Remember I said, well, you don't have to remember it. remember I said this. You don't have to remember anything. Last week, I cut out the black because I could see more of the black. But this, as I was looking at it last week, there's still not enough information there. So I'm going to cut out the white areas just like we talked about last week. Because if I do both, then I have enough information to pull it all off. So I'm going to grab a new copy here and we're going to get going. What do we want to talk about tonight? We could talk about what's coming up for this. I talked last week about how I want to somehow pull this together for a show, which I do. Where am I going? Left of Banana Road is what I want. So I do want to pull this together for a show. So I didn't mention what is coming down the pike, and I will give you guys a sneak preview. Not visually because I don't have them ready yet, but I will give you guys a sneak preview. I have a plan for doing Rome. So I have some stones from Rome, which is awesome. I have plans to do, where have I got here? I don't know what I'm looking at. I have asphalt from Los Angeles, so there'll be a Los Angeles painting. I do have plans to do a Youngstown painting because all of a sudden that crazy little city has become important to me. So I have a plan to do some sort of Youngstown thing. I am going to a wedding in about a month, and that is in the absolutely beautiful Newport, Rhode Island. So I plan on getting some cool photos when I'm there. So we'll have I don't know, that'll probably be an ocean-y type thing, but Newport, Rhode Island is known for these giant mansions that are everywhere. So, the downside of that is, a lot of artists paint those mansions. So, however, they don't do them the way I do them, so I could still get away with it. But, I'm leaving it open. I might see something when I'm there that really catches my eye. But Newport is definitely going to be something that I'll do. So I got that one. I do have some sand and stone from some other places. Like I do have some from Quincy, Massachusetts, which is just south of Boston. And Quincy's also on the coast. So there's, kind of there's a beach there. It's Wollaston Beach. It's not very scenic. It's a very urban beach, meaning, that it's just a very utility type beach. But I've got a photograph from someone I knew that has nothing to do with the beach. That's from that area. That's really, really kind of neat too. So I could do something like that. I have plenty of sand from different areas in Cape Cod. However, I did take a bunch of pictures, but I really didn't come out with anything that jumped out at me. So I do, and you notice I keep talking about the sand and stone. That is all the stuff that goes behind the paintings. So paintings usually are born because I have that material. Like, I wouldn't have done LA if I hadn't gone to LA and got asphalt for it. So yeah, it's funny. I have a shelf here in the studio that has all these jars in it with different, stone and sand from different places. So I'm going to have to run through that shelf and see if there's anything I'm missing. Like maybe I grabbed some material from someplace intending to do a painting and never did a painting. Now that I know that I'm going to need 20 paintings altogether, that will definitely spark that. And then I could start thinking about other stuff too. Like I did Cincinnati. I could do Cleveland. I don't necessarily have any ties with Cleveland other than that it's, relatively close here. But I also don't want, here's the thing about it too. We talked about the show, setting up a show. You think about all the work in the show. Now, if I had all of these cityscapes, like all 20 paintings were each a different city. Sounds like a good idea, right? But when people get in here to look at this show, there's eye fatigue. There's just like you get overwhelmed. And if everything is the same, if just a bunch of, if it's 20 different cities, people look, maybe get into the first couple of them, but after a while they'll be like, oh, that's Tokyo, okay, that's Cleveland, that's whatever. So it'll be easy for them to just say, okay, I'm just going to see what the cities are, and I'm just going to look at them for a second and then brush by, which is why I want to have some of the close-up ones like Open Studio and Full Circle and Death of a Salesman, and I'll do some other ones that are closer, quarters. My Chicago one is close, so that might be an option too. So what it does is it visually breaks up the show. So yes, you still have a theme. You have all these landscapes, but they're not all the same landscape. Just replace the name. So that's a big thing too. And it's nice. It makes for a better show because the thought is there. That there's a theme. It's continuous through the show, but it's that repetition and variation that's so important. I don't want every painting to be, a cityscape that's intense like this. Plus, this is an intense thing to kind of look at too. If you start getting into it, it's visually, compacted and it's visually rich and it can be a lot. So giving someone then a close-up where, there might be a lot of detail in it, but you can take the whole thing in all at once. Without having to, it's overanalyze everything because it's so micro small. That's good. So that's what we want to do. All right. Now this is all the light areas. So I'm just going to kind of make sure I'm lined up here. A little bit down and to the right. Like that. I got one of them already in, which is good. So I know I'm on the right track. And now I put a little bit of white in here and we go to town. So again, this is what happens with these things, these projects. I start thinking about them way early and it gives me time to kind of work out the details, I would I would love it. A show is a show. If someone said, hey, I want you to have a show in my gallery and it's got to go up in a month, I could do it and it would be fun, but it's not going to be as well thought out and continuous and congruent as it would be if I have time. All right, so this is just, again, straight up white. This will give me the remainder of the info that I need to kind of get this guy done here. Should be in good shape now. Yeah, it gives me plenty of stuff to look at. I'm still just off of Banana Road. Yeah, I'm just going to start picking this way and see what I can come up with. So that's a little red building. We'll start with that one. Tan building next to that. Okay, we're off and running. This whole area still is very gray, so we're going to stick with these little things. So this is, oopsie, sorry. There we go. Triangle building first, which I kind of made like a weird thing, but that's okay. And then right above that is this guy. And it ends right above this building. Nice. And then that's brilliant. I've got those. I don't have those yet. Oh, I do got all of them. A lot of stuff going on here, kids. A lot of stuff on the side of the road. All right, I'm going to not get overwhelmed here. I'm going to try not to get overwhelmed. This is the hardest part of the painting, as it starts to get off into the distance here, because you can still make stuff out, but it becomes very small, you know what I mean? And it's like, again, I'm still trying to do it right, but it's so close quarters that it ends up being tough to see sometimes. This is more, oh, it goes straight down. Let's get like a wedge top to it. There we go. And on the top of that one. And then we got that building, which has windows on it. So we'll get those in as this brush dries out nicely. So it gives me a nice dry brush, which will allow me to do all these little tiny lines, which is great. That window for that is so short before it's like, it's just dry enough to do what I just did, but then it gets too dry like right after. It's like trying to catch sunset, that perfect sunset moment. You think, oh, sunset, that's easy, it's sunset for hours. And then you actually get out there and try to take a photo of the perfect moment. And it's like you realize that this sunset takes 30 seconds and then it's gone. And you're like, well, oh. So the same thing happens with a dry brush. All right, that guy between, I already got that line there. What's below that? Some weird little other building-y type stuff. Let's do some gray in there. Yeah. There's some airbrushing in that too. Yep. P. All right. So there's my little maroon building. There's a gray building kind of near that, but then some black is going on. Okay. And I'm telling you, like I know I've mentioned it before, it seems like it's a big spaghetti mess, and it really feels that way when I start doing these. But after a little while, I do zone in. It's like, oh, okay, that's this and that's this, and it does start to get easier. And I don't know that that's true with everyone if you're going to try something like this. But it definitely, I find the more I kind of paint in one session, the easier it starts to get, which is great. Because when I first start, it's like it's visually like just totally overwhelming. I'm like, what is going on here? I have no idea what I'm looking at. So there is a lot of that. But it does pick up pretty quick, which is nice. Saw stuff along this road. I've got the little thing go there. There's another road there. Interesting. All right, there's that one. Next to that one. That's that white one. Okay, so it's black next to that one. Good. And then there's a road here. Yeah, gray. Yeah. Okay. Actually, we'll mix it a little bit lighter. Or, yeah. It's a small road indeed, though. Yeah, just checking the photocopy to make sure. Yeah. And then below that guy, yep, it connects with this building right here. And we're off to the races. Filling them in. Oh, that's the big dark area right below this big building. I like it. That goes right to this building. Do I not have that in the right spot? Oh, I don't. This building goes way out farther. So this building goes all the way out to here. Cool. Yeah, that's better. And that black building next to that one. Okay, good. Yeah, so what was I talking about? The choices for the show. It's like I was talking about the show I did at the library last week. I didn't do a show at the library last week, but last week I was talking about a show that I did at my local hometown library. That had everything I got. I think I had 20 pieces in that, and it was basically, I knew the space that they had. They had a brand new upper floor gallery, and there's a lot of room there. And I didn't have the option of saying I'm going to have this, this type of show. It was like, get everything you got. So it's nice. The common theme for my stuff is that everything's small, and so that was good. But there was, topic wise, it was all over the road. And again, that's fine. I think a little bit more red in here. But it's nice to have a theme, that really works well. Okay, so there are my two maroon buildings, but I'm feeling that to the left of this tower building or wedgie building, there's a little bit of a pink thing going on here in this. So again, this works out well because the carmine is really transparent. So I don't want it super dark like this. I just want to indicate that pink in there too. What's that big black area below though? There's that. That is that. Wait, Banana Road. It is that. What is that? That's below that. Oh, it's just gray buildings. For crying out loud. It's funny, and this is why having, two different reference photos really, really helps. So this is just to the left of that. That's this gray building. I haven't marked really dark here because the photocopy says it's dark. But when I look at the reference photo on the tablet, it's like, oh no, that's just a gray building, and it's like, oh crap. So I'm looking for something black, and it's not. It's just gray. So that's that building, and that's kind of got windows in it. Going this way. Yar. Yeah, it's definitely going to need some airbrushing. And then we got more buildings on this side. So that's that building there. All right, it's working. It's working. Gray building. I didn't do any cutouts down here. That's unfortunate. All right, I'm going to have to sneak around that. All right, so who's who? That's that. That, what is that? Yeah, that's that. I know, this is probably annoying for you to listen to. I think these white ones were a little bit high, or this black. This is the base of the really tall building, which we're not there yet. Getting there, but we're not there yet. All right, so maybe I should jump back to that. Yeah, yar. So we're still doing it. We're just bouncing around a little bit because I need to do something to connect the dots. So we did this building. This one right here is the other tan building, and it doesn't have much going on with it. So we're going to start with this one and then build out from that. And I do this a lot too. Like if I'm really starting to get twisted up on this, like one area, like I can't really figure out where I'm going, I'll jump to another area somewhere else where I can see something, and then kind of close in from the other side. I can certainly see this building here. This is easy. It's got a slightly gray front like this, but I'll do that after. Because really what I'm concerned with is this, it's a hunter green thing in here, which we'll use moss green for that. Put a bunch of black in that. So when I do the painting of LA or when I do the painting of Rome, and you guys see either updates when I post them, or if you see the whole thing done, you guys will have a much better idea of what's really involved now, which is something I really, really love. I love that you guys were part of this. All right, so I don't know if this is all green, but it looks really dark and looks green in the reference photo, so we're doing it. Worst case is it'll read as black and it'll be fine. Then there is white above that. So again, I'm grabbing things that I can see. I I can make out what's going on there. So nice. And then there's a bunch of stuff above it. And then I got that one right there. So yeah, this is good. This is good. I'm not going to finish this building here because I don't want to drag out the airbrush yet for that. I'll know when I get there that I got to do that one. So we're just going to use it as a landmark. So that guy's there. That bleeds down there. And that's got that there. It's actually much smaller than I have it, but it's also wet. So if I try to reduce the size of that, it's going to flood all over the place and make a mess. So we don't want that. And we're right back to this building. All right, so that's what I'm saying. It worked out well. So I got all these weird little things going on in here, which, you know, honestly, at the end of the day, I'm overthinking them all because you can't see them anyway. But I do want to get it right. So fill in this gap with a little bit of George Lucas Greebles. Yeah, it's like some sort of crazy thing going on there, but that's good. Yeah, we got it. Nice. Let it dry a little bit. We'll put some white in there to kind of add those lighter areas that are going on in there. Yeah. And just like that, you know, we connected the dots. We ran all the way across. Like I said, I was getting kind of confused on, you know, after that road, because I was getting into this weird part here. And it was like, you know, what is going on there, you know? And that's how it worked. So that's good. That's really good. That's actually really, really good. All right, so I've got those two little guys right there. Bunch of craziness going up to this building, so can we do that? There's another road there. No, that's the same road. Cow. I think it's the same cow. All right. Well, I'll keep tucking in around this one then. Because, you know, it also gets to the point where I have to like break off and start a new section too. You know what I mean? I've used all the information that I have. And it's time to cut a new template. But, you know, I'm loving now at this point where we kind of set it up, cut the template, and then finish the area. I like that. So I'm kind of hesitant on cutting a new template and just randomly starting a new area. I will if that's what it's going to take, but I don't think we have to. So I got more green there. I got to let that dry a little bit. So while that's drying, I'll fill in the gap on this side up here. We got a little cool building here. Yeah. Nice. And then again, I got to airbrush this guy too. So we're going to wait on that because I don't want to break the airbrush out right now either. I do have to airbrush, you know, this whole area right now. See how paintbrushy it is? Where if you look kind of down here, how together it looks, melded together, because I'm missing the airbrush stuff on that. Yeah, oh, that's what I was going to do. Right, more white. Because I finished under this building here, which I got to add a few little darker details too, because that green is too green, but we'll put the white in now. And I love it. I don't know if this stuff here that I just painted is on top of that building or on this thing behind it, but it doesn't matter because we paint what we see. For me. There we go. Yeah, so an area like just off the palette cam, this area here, this is going to be fun when I get to the airbrush part of it. Like I will tone this area down a little bit more than it is even toned down right now. because what will happen is that'll cause this area with these brighter, taller buildings, it'll cause that to pop up a little bit. If this is a little bit darker in value than this, it'll automatically set up that, okay, these are popping out, these are recessed. And it's a neat little trick you can do. Now, does it look like that in the reference photo? Not particularly, but I can push that a tiny bit to get this to feel more three-dimensional. Again, that's what I'm saying. When you look at a painting, my stuff looks completely different live, and it ultimately should look completely different. Not completely different, but it should have much different impact than the photograph. Like if you print out this photograph, you get what I got with the photocopy. But if you see this painting for real, you get those little extras, and that's what really sets off the painting from just having a photograph. So again, that's when people say, oh, why don't you just take a photograph? I'm like, you could, but it's not going to be anywhere near what the painting is. And again, that's not an ego thing. That's a fact. I'm putting stuff in that just isn't in the photograph. And some of them, yes. Some of them are tricks. That whole thing I just mentioned, that's a neat little thing you can do to imply depth, in something. So there are some that I guess would consider tricks, but they're techniques, they're things that you do to make your painting better. Excellent. Maybe I will break the airbrush out. Why the heck not? This has really heavy duty black in it. Oh, I already got black in it, so it's really not that hard. All right, so we're gonna, again, this is super reduced black. And this week I had spa day for this brush, so this brush is working as intended now, which is lovely. I like this brush a lot. It's the Micron B. All right, so again, I'm going to start by just kind of randomly swirling around these areas. And, I made it sound like I was just going to spray over that section, but it isn't. I'm just kind of adding a little bit of value to it, or lowering the value of it overall by just like kind of adding little extra darks in there that aren't there. Excuse me, with the airbrush. And what that does is it dumps that down a little bit. And then I can just go on and do the grounding technique that I was talking about a bunch of times throughout this, where I'm just kind of hitting the bottom of these buildings, or where like that road tucks behind the building. Hit that. That was probably too much, but it's going to be all right. So anywhere where I can kind of ground a building and give it a little bit of extra. Now, the other thing is this guy right here. This little guy right here. I am going to do the face of that because I will probably forget that. So I need to find a copy real quick. Here it is. Just need to find a copy that doesn't have that cut out. So we are right there. So I cut out the face of that building because this, I can't freehand this because it's got hard edges on it. It's the face of the building. Plus, not only that, it's super subtle. I'm not going to be adding a lot of black on this. In fact, it's just breathing it on to change the value of that because it's in shade. Or, there's no sun right now. There is sun here, but it's behind all the clouds and everything. So now we line that up real carefully on the corner. And then we just like the building below it, give that just a little hit. I'm going to hold that in place in case I need to hit it again, but I don't. See, it just gives it a little bit of something. And now that feels like a little cube sitting there. Now, we're not going to do the windows on that because we're running out of time, but we'll get to that next week. I'm happy with this. All right, let's take a look at the whole thing. Alrighty, here we go. So I left most of the copy next to it so you can really see it. Yeah, we're there. We're there. Again, I don't want to tip my hand for later episodes, but do you see how the value of this is kind of washed out? And mine's like super crisp and clean. It's like there's no atmosphere between you and the buildings. That is coming. And it's one of the coolest. We talked about this episode. We talked about I'm going to say tricks, but they're not. They're techniques, but they kind of are tricks because they have huge bang for the buck, so to speak. But when I lightly go over this whole painting with white, to add this mist, there are those puffy clouds I was talking about too. Excuse me. When I lightly go over this, it'll tie this whole painting together and it'll give it that atmosphere that this one has. Plus, I'll be able to push that white a little bit more up in here, so that gives it that atmospheric perspective. So you really feel like, the image is moving away from you, the city's moving away from you. And again, it feels like a trick, but it's not. It's just one of the other techniques that we can use. But it is coming. The other thing that I was toying with, and I'm starting to get into my brain a little bit. Like when we finish this, I'm almost thinking about doing the river first before we jump across to the other side. And the reason why is, again, just in general, there's a lot of rinse and repeat with this, as you've seen. So yeah, I kind of need a break. You know what I mean? I kind of need to not paint buildings for a little bit. So when we finish all this area up here, we may just jump to the river and do the river. It gives us a break, and it's something different to do. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, in the meantime, you know what to do. Please hit that like and subscribe. You guys are awesome. That is the free way to help us out and build the channel and be absolutely the coolest people on the planet. I love you guys for that. If you want to be a more financial supporter of the site, that is amazing, of the page. You can become a member like these lovely people. This will give you early access to the Time-Lapse Tuesday video that comes out every week, and also a 10% discount on my website. So please take advantage of that. There's a great group of people there. All right, so for Steve Leahy and Through Lachlan's Eyes, love you guys, and I will catch you guys next week. Have a great one.